Wow, they've been making billions off the tournaments and everything. And, it's still to this point in America, they don't like to see certain people get money. So that's an issue.
On today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis discuss conference realignment, review the first year of NIL, as well as news and notes from around the world of college athletics. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my tag team partner, the Ernie Dusick to my Emil Dusick in NWA Los Angeles in the 1950s. There's a tie-in, folks. The icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, we're talking about NWA Los Angeles because we'll be talking about some West Coast teams on our Throwdown Thursday edition. But how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
All right. This is as real can get. This is as real as real can get. News of the week. USC and UCLA, two of the Pac-12's flagship programs, are leaving the conference for the Big Ten. The Big Ten, if reports are correct, sir, will sign a TV rights deal that will be around $1 billion, which means Big Ten schools would receive, on average, $80 to $100 million annually, which dwarfs all current TV deals. So, Mike, we have been covering conference realignment since the start of our show. And when the OCP started, it was important for us to cover all aspects of college sports, including the administrative side, because I live in both worlds. So we're going to talk about this like no other show, because we're not screaming, we're not yelling. As Coach Nima said, we're not living in the past on our lawns. But here's the bottom line. All moves are made because of how it can financially benefit the school. So let's get that out of the way. So, Mike, I want to introduce our audience to the real AAU, the Association of American Universities. So, fans, I used to talk to Mike about the AAU, and he's like, Keith, what are you talking about? Man, Mike, research is like big money in schools, and this is over the years, man. So now we're actually doing a show every week, and I keep dropping, man, these AAU schools are going to band together. These AAU, like, what are you talking about? Now, oh, man, this is bigger than I ever thought. So the Association of American Universities is an organization of American research institutions devoted mainly to a strong system of academic research. Founded in 1900, which is about 5 years before the NCAA was founded, 5 or 6 years. 63 universities in the United States, both public and private, and 2 universities in Canada came together. AAU membership is by invitation only and requires an affirmative vote of 3/4 of current members. So why is this important? Why is membership in the AAU important? The largest attraction of the AAU for many schools, especially non-members, is prestige, sir. Because of the lengthy and difficult entrance process, Board of Trustees, state legislators, donors, they often see membership as evidence of how good your school is. The AAU acts as a lobbyist. Say it again, the AAU acts as a lobbyist with its headquarters in Washington, D.C., because as a doctoral student, research costs money. None of my research is free. So money drives these decisions. So with that, Mike, I'm going to share with you some prominent AAU schools with the purpose of looking not backwards, but looking forward. So fans, take a listen to this. Duke is an AAU school. Georgia Tech is an AAU school. Indiana, Michigan State, Northwestern, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, see a little pattern there, sir. Stanford, Texas A&M, Arizona, California, UCLA, Colorado, Florida. I was surprised by that one. I can't lie to you. Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, UNC, sir, UNC, Oregon, Pittsburgh, USC, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and Vanderbilt. Anything stand out to you as I gave you that list that my partner can read on his screen? But I wanted fans, we're not going through all of them, but we're going through a bunch of them that may be in the news in the next few weeks, sir.
Yeah, it's the blue bloods. Supposedly, you hear how it is, and these are the ones making the decision because of their best financial interests and not the kids who keep saying the thing that they sold. And you know how this is in this country. If you can sell it good enough and people believe it, then, they must think it's true. It's about the education. These kids are getting a free education. They should just be happy with the free education. Wow, they've been making billions off the tournaments and everything. And, it's still to this point in America, they don't like to see certain people get money. So that's an issue.
So let's talk a little bit about SEC expansion. The transition of USC and UCLA to the Big Ten will be similar to Texas and Oklahoma because that kicked off realignment. And you can go back in our previous episode archives, and we have literally talked about every school. I believe we were at over 50%. Some 32 to 33 schools have changed conference realignment since we've been on the air, Mike. It's 1 year. Okay. Wow. And then Big Ten expansion. And acquiring USC and UCLA, the Big Ten goes coast to coast. So that would bring the Big Ten to 16 schools. And don't think they're going to stop there. I don't think they will. So here's some schools to just watch, Mike. From the ACC, watch Duke. Coach K's not there anymore. Okay. Watch Georgia Tech, Georgia Institute of Technology. Watch UNC. Watch Pittsburgh and watch Virginia, because you can pair Pitt and you can pair up Pittsburgh and Penn State. So that's one to look at. Kansas from the Big 12. Take a look at Kansas. And then from the Pac-12, Stanford, who's got more money you can shake stick at. Arizona, California, Colorado, Oregon, and Utah. Do you want to be the last one holding the bag in the Pac-12? I don't know if I do. Okay? I don't know if I do, man. And then which non-AAU schools should we watch? The ACC. Everybody keeps telling us about Clemson. But as you see what we think about Clemson academically, no disrespect, I'm not booking it. It's the AAU. NC State. NC State actually is trying to apply to be a member of the AAU. Florida State and Syracuse, who was a member and not currently a member. In the Big 12, Baylor, Iowa State, and Kansas State, because if Kansas goes, Kansas State's going to hang wherever Kansas is going to go. That's my prediction. Independent, Notre Dame. Reports are that Notre Dame will finally join the Big Ten because that's a lot of money to leave on the table. Again, I don't know. And in the Pac-12, Arizona State to partner up with Arizona, and Oregon State to partner up with Oregon. Coach, any thoughts before I give our Notre Dame colleague the last word?
Oh, no. I mean, it's, again, big business does big things. So,
well, fans of the show know that our official Notre Dame correspondent is Jake Sharler. And I reached out to Jake, and I simply shot him a text. And I said, Jake, what do you want Notre Dame to do? Because he's a fan, Mike. He's a fan. That's who we are. He loves it. You loved it. And Jake said something that gave us pause, and I want to end our segment with it. And thank you, Jake, for allowing us to share, our private conversation. He said, man, I think what I want is fast not becoming a choice. What I want is to go back to the 80s with the Big Eight, the Southwest Conference, etc. I think we're clearly headed to 2 mega conferences, but that to me sucks. I used to like the bowls and no playoff, except when Notre Dame got screwed in '93. Still a Notre Dame fan. I like the different conferences having different identities and regional flavor. We're losing that. As I saw someone say, this is going to be like the AFC and the NFC, but I guess the money is just too great for anyone to take a stand, sadly. Mike, I think that's a good way to end the segment because Jake's thoughts are the thoughts of many of our listeners out there. And we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA SAVE Project Academic Monitoring Service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 2, NIL celebrates a birthday. And Jay Billis did a great recap on ESPN.com that we're going to react to. So July 1st marks the 1-year anniversary of college athletes finally being allowed to monetize their name, image, and likeness, something that literally every other person in America was allowed to do. So here are the positives according to Jay Billis. I'll let my partner react as appropriate. One, a wide swath of athletes are making money and not just the high revenue sports. Women's college athletes are benefiting and not being left behind. Questions about sources of money have mostly ended. More athletes seem to be opting to stay in school. Your boy Timmy from Gonzaga is one of them. Talent might be more spread out, not concentrated. And NIL helps athletes with financial literacy. Any thoughts on what Jay Billis said were the positives, sir?
Yeah, I think that, everybody being spread out, that's one thing for sure. And then, NIL helping getting kids into different parts in schools. Maybe they didn't go to it first.
Okay. So then the negatives. He had 4 negatives. The NCAA has been diminished in the NIL saga, creating instability. 2, different state laws, we told you, help NCAA obscure the NIL message. 3, the threat of congressional intervention and NCAA legislation is bad for college sports, according to Mr. Billis. And 4, NIL and recruiting, the ongoing confusion over collectives. Coach, we recently had Coach Nima Overdar on the show, and he talked a little bit about it. What are your thoughts on the negatives before we try to search for solutions?
Well, I mean, if we search for the solutions, you don't have none offhand, do you? What do you have offhand?
So, offhand, which you have already disagreed with on previous shows, but I believe there needs to be a centralization to this process similar to the eligibility center. You have a national office and then you staff each school to have somebody or small staff to register NCAA approved businesses similar to what other organizations do. When you're in athletics, you have a bid list. I think you remember that from coaching. And the businesses who want to work with the insert school system, they fill out certain rules, regulations, guidelines, and then once they're cleared, you can do anything you want with those businesses. I think that keeps everything above board. I also think, similar to the NFL, that they should not be able to use the school's logo or name unless the school gets a cut. Similar to the Eastern Motors commercials that are local, everybody's wearing burgundy and gold, but it doesn't say Commanders. It's implied, it's referred to, but again, this is business. Daniel Bryan is Bryan Danielson in AEW because he can't do intellectual property that is bought and paid for by WWE. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But as we see on the screen, I'm going to give you the last word before we get out of this, sir.
Yeah, I just think it's it's very important that how we go from here on out with that. And the rules that they put in place is going to be important for a long time if they ever get the hold of this and try to cap this. But you know how they say spilt milk and putting it back in the jar. You can't put it back in the jar. And again, we're not against getting your money.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
we always say the three words we always say. What do we say?
Get the bag. Get the bag. Get it. But, we should have a process that is centralized. So now you can not eliminate, but minimize bad actors. So hey, thanks for that, sir. And we'll be right back to wrap up on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler and Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 3, we're going to get some random news and notes amongst the other stories in college athletics. It's the ACC's turn. The ACC became the latest conference to scrap divisions in favor of a new scheduling format, making 2022 the final year of the Atlantic and Coastal divisions. Starting in 2023, the league announced that it will move to the 3-5-5 format, which we have previously discussed on the show. The ACC is now the 5th football bowl league to scrap divisions. Big 12 did it. The American did it. The Pac-12 Mountain West did it. And the SEC will more likely than not do that. So is this a good move, sir?
I mean, it's a good business move. I mean, I'm not. We say what it's about, right? It's a good business move or not?
It is a wonderful business move, and it gets your fan base jacked up to see a rotation of schools.
It's a good business move, and it also allows you to manipulate the schedule more, so you can get your best team in there with less loss and get in a high bowl and make more money, and that's what it comes down to. It's scheduling friendly, so more teams from your conference can make it to the bowl, and you can make more money for your conference. That's it.
All right. So our next story. Allow me to reintroduce myself. I don't know the rest of the lyrics, sir, because I'm uncool. But the Big 12
H to the OV.
The Big 12 has named Brett Yormark as its next commissioner. He used to serve as a COO of Jay-Z's Rock Nation, and now he joins the Big 12 on a 5-year contract. And will the Big 12 be around at the end of his contract, sir? Because the Pac-12 might not be around at the end of the other dude's contract. Any thoughts on that, man? That's an out-of-the-box hire, sir.
It's out of the box because they're trying to keep athletes in the college. And you're taking guys from Rock Nation and you're trying to make sure that you're putting in this new generation of athletes, someone who can be a little more progressive, I would say, maybe, and just get some fresh blood in to try to change some things around.
Trivia note fans, I couldn't name 5 Jay-Z songs if you paid me. Okay, trivia note. But I can name 5 Prince songs. I can name 55 Prince songs. All right, the Manning factor. Jonte Cook became the latest prospect to join Steve Sarkisian in his emerging recruiting overhaul. Uh, he is the ninth player to commit to Texas since Arch Manning's announcement. Coach, we're gonna have to pay attention to this guy because he is moving the needle.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Arch Manning, or will he be bum skilly, bum bum?
No, that's a good. I haven't really watched him in depth. I have seen some highlights, but highlights are geared to make look your best. But the kid seems to have better legs than both his dad, and his uncle.
Okay.
He moves definitely. He also played basketball. I don't know if they did, but no, he's actually on the floor and he has good moves. So he seems a little more athletic than the other Mannings. Maybe more like Archie, maybe a
Yeah,
little
Archie
more
had to run.
grandfather, he looked more like his grandfather than the other two.
All right. So, with a focus on the end goal, tell me your thoughts on these moves. Memphis transfer Imani Bates, who was the former #1 high school prospect, announced that he is headed back home to play for Eastern Michigan. He released a list of 6 schools in early May and decided to play for Stan Heath and the Eagles. The 6'9" small forward was considered one of the elite basketball prospects in the country. He was ranked #1 in the 2022 class until he reclassified and ended up as #3 in the 2021 class. Much like his recruitment, it was shrouded in mystery. He originally committed to Michigan State, and then it was thought that he would skip college and play professionally. His lone season under Penny Hardaway uh, didn't have the best of seasons. So is this a good move? We have seen just last week in the NBA draft, people from smaller conferences get drafted. What are you thinking, sir?
I think it's an okay move. He played that 1 year with Penny, which gave him a little bit of visibility. I would think. I'm watching his highlights. He didn't seem too bad. He really didn't seem too bad watching his highlights.
All right. Is he worth the money? Mississippi State football coach Mike Leach signed a 2-year contract extension that raises his salary to $5.5 million. State laws cap the length of contracts at 4 years, so he went from $5 million to $5.5 million in the state of Mississippi. Is Mike Leach worth that, knowing where Mississippi State's going to be every year in the SEC?
Mike Leach is always going to fill the stands up because he has a definite brand of football that people buy into that's really good. They spread it, they throw it. It's entertaining. If nothing else, you're going to fill the seats up. So he's more of an investment kind of guy. And if he get real good, they'll make a higher bowl, which means they'll make more money. So they're going to keep money flowing coming in. And as long as he can stay out of trouble, he'll have a job. He's, the school presidents and ADs love guys like that. Fill the seats and no, bad media, no matter what the record is, and get us a bowl like once every 3 years.
All right. And finally, hot dog Rod Strickland. Former NBA guard Rod Strickland is the new men's basketball coach at Long Island University. I made the hot dog joke because I believe at halftime he was eating hot dogs one of these games, and he was with the Bullets at that time. He was hired to replace Derek Kellogg, who led the
Wizards.
It was the Bullets at that time. I think I was at Bowie State, but that's another story for another day. To a 16-14 record, he had been serving as program director for the NBA G League Ignite. The Sharks are hoping he can transition to get high-level players to come to LIU. Since retiring, Rod Strickland, who's 55, wow, Mike, we're old, because we remember him as a player, DePaul, and all of that, was an assistant at South Florida, also worked at Memphis and Kentucky. So is this a good move for LIU, or is this a pit stop for Rod Strickland?
I think it's a pit stop for Rod Strickland until a bigger job come open. I see him along the lines of what's his name? Sharif just went to Seton Hall.
All right, Shareem Holiday. Or
Holiday. I think that Holloway. Rod is that ingredient people don't realize that Calipari had. Rod was that guy. He was a teacher. He was a guy getting these guards ready. If you think about all the point guards that came through their programs, and Rod was major. Kentucky could have used him this year to be in the ear of that boy that had Tata Tutu, whatever his name was, who I thought may have been the worst leading. When I say leader, as far as a point guard is concerned in Kentucky, the decisions he made wasn't that good. You got a guy like Rod in his ear, it makes things better.
All right. So next week, fans, we start our official coverage of college football, and this was by happenstance with a look at the Pac-12. So our Pac-12 preview edition will be next week. We're reaching out to a bunch of our listeners and supporters, and we'll see how this works out, man. So any final thoughts when we close out, Mike? Good week shows.
No, sir. No thoughts at all.
Okay. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. We'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.